Hey guys, Jaws here. I know the off-season has been long and arduous and there's been a lot of roster changes. Now, I'll lead you through them one by one, step by step. Your favorite players probably in here somewhere. If you've lost track of them, I'll lead you to them, not a problem. We're going to jump through every single team. We'll start alphabetically. We'll go with the Atlanta Reign first and then go on from there. Now, the Atlanta Reign, they've kept 3 of their players, 2 of their tanks, in fact. They've kept Hawk and Gator. They've kept Kai in the DPS slot. They've unfortunately lost Iris, Pelican, and Edison. Masa to Titans, but they've added some insane talent from the Path to Pro. They've added Speedly, who is a DPS player, and they've also added OG, a support. Now, joining OG will be Ultraviolet to round out the support squad, but they've added some ex-Overwatch League talent in the DPS to go alongside Kai. They added Nero, who played for the San Francisco Shock, and another Path to Pro signing in Venom. Boston Uprising, a complete rebuild. They've actually kept Punk and Faith, both the tank and a support. Crimso picked up from the Outlaws. They have Striker, World Star DPS Tracer player from the San Francisco Shock, a relatively new tank player in Istal from Uprising Academy. In the DPS slot, they have Victoria joining Striker from Uprising Academy once again, MCD and Marvel from the Spark and the Seoul Dynasty, respectively. However, they've lost Gable Shi, Stan 1, IM37, Myeonbong, Color Hex, one of my favorites, Fusions, a British boy, and Soon. The Hunters, relatively unchanged team. You're still going to see MVP leave and Jinmu on DPS and their tank line in Gaga. Dallas Fuel still fielding a lot of the old Element Mystic players. You got Sparkle, Doha, Hanbin, Fearless, and Fielder. No changes there. Repel, Pine, Jexer, and Exi are no longer on the roster. They picked up 3 players, 2 DPS players and a support. You do have Gurio from the Path to Pro Team Chaser. Weirdly enough, Chengdu Hunters Academy team. You have Edison, formerly of the Atlanta Reign. That DPS lineup is looking stacked already. And Chio, a support player from O2 Blast. Florida Mayhem, a complete rebuild. We have someone and Checkmate, yes, he's playing tank this time around, in the tank slot, was a free agent signing from the Florida Mayhem, weirdly enough, I know, they dropped him, then picked him back up. Someone who recently just turned 18, so happy birthday to him. DPS in Hydron, and last minute addition of Exi into the roster. Now the support line is going to be an interesting one. You have veteran Lucio player Arnamo, who was a free agent signing from the Seoul Dynasty. And you also have Sir Majad, a Path to Pro signing from Bobby Wasabi. The Guangzhou Charge, they've kept 4 and they've added 3. Krong and Rio are still in the tank role. We still have Choicer 1 and Eileen for DPS. They've added Develop, who is quite literally developing in the Shanghai Dragons camp last season, could make a big splash. They've also added Unique and Molly. We unfortunately won't be seeing Mardu, Kariv, Mikey Lee, or Jihun this season, though they did part ways with them in the offseason. The Hangzhou Spark, they once had about 50 players and now they've slimmed the roster down just a little bit. They've kept 5 and added 4. I know, still a big roster, but we'll see how they do. You still have Gushui, Architect Shai, Ligue, and Bernard. They've stayed on the roster. We've had a departure of Coldest, Mika, IDK, and So Min Soo. Now for the big pickups, Super Rich, who has been touted as the #1 pickup, at least from the Chinese scene in the offseason. He comes from Team CC. And we have 3 players coming from Bilibili Gaming, Alfie, Irony, and Pineapple. Houston Outlaws, this could be their season. Time will tell. Their roster has changed up a fair bit. One notable point is actually Jake moving from player to full-time coach this season. They've kept Piggy on the tank, and of course, they have Dante. There's no way they're going to get rid of him. He's just too good. Pelican, Iris, and Lastro and Merit also joined the team this season around. Pelican moving from the Atlanta Reign, same with Iris. Lastro coming from the Toronto Defiant, and Merit, another DPS from the O2 Blast, joining the league this season. Okay, The London Spitfire, Shax and Sparker still on the roster. Same with Hardy. They picked up a Contenders DPS player, another British boy in Backbone. They've also picked up Poco from the Philadelphia Fusion and Admiral. Unfortunately, this season we won't be seeing Ripper, Kellex, Molfig, Hardy, Hybrid, Blase, or Fuse. The Los Angeles Gladiators, yeah, they got a stacked team this season. They've kept Space, Kevster, Shoot, and Skewed. Need I say more? But wait, of course there's more. Astro, Arns, Reiner, and Padapan have joined the roster. If you don't remember Padapan, he left Overwatch just for a little bit to dominate another game and then came back and is probably going to dominate the league. Arns, of course, from the San Francisco Shock, the Lucio Superstar Funny Astro from the Philadelphia Fusion, and Reiner, another promising tank player from Los Angeles Valiant. They've made a complete rebuild with a lot of promising faces from the region. Lengsar, Coldest, and Becky will be in the support role for the LA Valiant this season. In the DPS, we have Dia, Innovation, and Ezan. In the tank slot, we have Sarsin, formerly of the Hangzhou Spark. Like I mentioned, they let go of their entire roster, so no more Shocheng, NMV, Silver 3, Milan Run, Weir, and Crystal. New York Excelsior, let's go over the changes that they've made. They've actually only kept one player, and that is Flora in the DPS slot. They've unfortunately lost their all-time support player in Jonak. He went to the Seoul Dynasty and then took a little bit of a hiatus from that team, but we'll get into that later. Yaki, Gangnongjin, Myeonbong, and Kellen are currently on the team. That support line is looking mighty tasty. They've lost Bianca, Yakpung, Feather, Jonak, Kalios, and Guangzhou. The Paris Eternal still sticking like London Spitfire with an almost all EU roster, with apart from one. Glister is joining the Paris Eternal this season, formerly of the San Francisco Shock. They've kept Vestola, Naga, Dan, KAAN, and Dredro. The Philadelphia Fusion, of course, they're keeping the legendary Carpe in DPS. They've had two signings from T1, which is basically their academy team, in MN3 and Zest. They have Aim God, or Jacked God, as I like to call him, in the support line. He's from Team CC. Fixer, another Path to Pro signing from Uprising Academy, and Fury, of all players, from the Washington Justice. This team looks so scary on paper. Like I said, they have had a lot of changes. We will no longer be seeing Hopper, EQO, Funny Astro, Poco, Rascal, Toby, Shockwave, and Mano on the roster. The two-time Overwatch League champions, the San Francisco Shock, have made some big changes in the off-season. They've kept Violet in support, and they've picked up 3 players from O2 Blast. Finn, who will be joining Violet in the support role, Kilo, and the Prodigy DPS player, Proper. They're also joined by Sam, who is a DPS player from Redbird Esports, as well as a late signing in Kaluge, a Path to Pro tank player from Maryville Esports. Yes, I know, Super has gone. So is Smurf, Arns, Twilight, Tayo, Nero, Glister, FD God, and Choyobin. The Seoul Dynasty, they've kept Fitz, Profit, and Creative. They have lost Gesture, Animo, Tuyu, Marvel, and Sabiolbi. However, they've picked up Stalker, Smurf, and Vindine to replace. Now, Smurf, an unbelievable signing for the Seoul Dynasty. They go from strength to strength in their tank line, an ex-San Francisco Shock player, and Stalker and Vindime are promising Path to Pro players from Gen G. Mess with the best, die like the rest was Shanghai Dragons' motto last season, and why would they change anything? They've not really moved their roster a whole ton. They lost Develop and Molly to the Guangzhou Charge and added Bebe from the Washington Justice, the man with the killer smile. They've kept Izayaki, Fletter, Lip, Void, Lijagon, Fate, and Who Are You? This roster is still going to be dominant, no matter the game. Toronto Defiant, another team that have made mad shakeups in the off-season, have had a complete rebuild. They're actually keeping Hisu. They've added Twilight and Chorong for their backline. Their tank line consists of Muse and Hotber from the Gladiators and the Fusion respectively. And they also have Finale and Hisu as their DPS line. O2 Blast, Uprising Academy, and keeping Hisu. The Toronto Defiant, they look kind of scary this year. There must have been a construction fire cell in Canada because the Vancouver Titans, as well as the Toronto Defiant, have had major shakeups. The Titans have replaced their entire roster. Scarippa, Aztec, and Masa, the backline. The tank is just false. And they have Aspire, ex-Toronto Defiant, Psycho from Falcon Esports, and Shockwave from the Fusion. Yes, Shockwave, who used to play for the Vancouver Titans back in 2020. So he's rejoined the roster, but with a few new friends. Last but not least, the Washington Justice. They've changed a lot of their roster. They've kept Hyper Carry Decay. They still have Mag, who is a little bit lackluster in his inaugural season, but this could be his time to shine in Overwatch 2 beta. They've kept Assassin also to back up Decay. But they've added a ton of extra talent. The support line, they have the man with the mullet, Krillin, who is back into the league after spending a little bit of time in contenders on T1. Vigilante, who is still underage but can play halfway during the season from Talent Esports, and Opener from Gen G. They've also had an extra tank to go alongside Mag in Kalios, who has had his face to the grindstone, who went from the Overwatch League to Open Division to Trials to Contenders and now back in the Overwatch League. And that's it for your off-season 2022 roundup. The Overwatch League season is starting very soon. Now, I know you're ready. I'm ready. The players are definitely ready. Stay tuned to the Overwatch League YouTube channel for all the news that you could possibly ask for. What player are you excited for? Or what team? Let us know down in the comments below, and I'll see you soon.